Hey, Dr. J here. Today I want to talk to you about anger. Yesterday I was out at a store, and the person that was helping me, we're talking about what I'm trying to buy. And then the conversation turned personal, and they started telling me that they were disappointed in some things that has happened in their life. And they specifically started talking about a failed relationship. And the more the person talked, I kept feeling like they were angry. And so they kept using the word disappointment. So I asked them, I said, "Are you disappointed or are you angry too?" And they're like, "No, it's disappointment." And well, yeah, I'm angry. And then they just went on to that, a rageful um, spiel. And so I'm like, wow. And so when I got home, I started thinking about how um, anger has showed up in my life. And a lot of times, anger is fueled by disappointment, right? We become disappointed in things that haven't happened in our life that we would like to have happened, whether like, oh boy, it was a failed relationship, or maybe you got overlooked at a job for a promotion that you were qualified for, or something else, right? And so we become disappointed. And the disappointment, right? Listen to what I'm saying. Disappointment is a breeding ground for anger. It is an absolute breeding ground for anger, because what you start doing is you wrestle with that disappointment and you rattle it, and the situation, you go over it in your head 10,000 times. Then you start getting rageful and you're angry now. And we have to be careful of how we allow anger to sit in us, in our body, in our minds, in our psyche, in our hearts, our spirit, everything. Because what it does, it just, you know, um, you become a very ugly and mean person. Now, I had been angry in my life for a time, right, for some years. And you can ask my family. If you came around me, I was going to bite your head off, right? Because I was just angry at how what I felt like life was treating me. And I'm just like, get away from me. I don't want to talk to y'all. I don't care. And what I realized that then I started having some stomach issues. And I'm like, this stuff is sitting in my body, right? This stuff of whatever I was disappointed in with life, it was sitting in my body and it was doing damage, right? And a lot of times people have things happen in their life because, trust me, whatever is happening in the psychological realm, it's going to take place in the physical realm. Um, and what started happening was I was getting ill and I was having headaches and stomach aches and all of this stuff. And so I had to come to a point where I said, I got to let this anger go, right? Whatever happened, happened. And then I started to realize, like, some stuff that I felt was a disappointment in my life, the older I get and the more I look back at it, I say, you know what? It wasn't supposed to work out that way, what I was hoping for. It wasn't supposed to go that way. I wasn't supposed to end up with that person. I wasn't supposed to get that promotion at that job. I wasn't supposed to buy the house that I was set on. It just, we don't see that in hindsight. We look back, but at the moment we're just furious. And and I'm talking about anger as far as disappointment. Now, anger come in many different categories, but I'm only talking about how it breeds. Disappointment breeds the anger. um and a lot of times we look at children, right? And people say, oh, he's so angry, speaking of a boy child or a girl child too. Oh, they're so angry, oh, I got to get my child some help, he's so angry. If you sit back and maybe just talk to him or ask him or look over what he's angry about, a lot of times it is disappointment. Maybe he's disappointed, he or she is disappointed that a parent wasn't there for them, or a parent left, or a parent died or went to jail, and they're so disappointed because that they feel as though it's so unfair. Why did I have to suffer this thing? Right? And so that disappointment sits in them and it becomes angry. And one thing we got to be be careful about, we have to learn to manage our emotions. Sometimes we can't expect kids to learn to know that at their age. You know, maybe they might be 10, 12, 15, 17. We don't expect them to. Sometimes we do expect them, but we can't hold them at fault when they don't know how to manage their emotions. Right? It took me a long time how to manage mine, and sometimes I still struggle. I struggle big time. But we got to be very careful of how we let this disappointment that breeds anger, and this anger rise up in us, because we can make a split-second decision. Right? Just in your anger, you can make a split-second decision that will cost you years, or you know, you might wind up in jail, you might lose your job, you know, something might happen where that fast, and it has turned your life upside down. So please, 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 if you recognize that you have some anger in your life, look back at it, thoroughly examine it to see if it's really disappointment that's masking itself as anger. Because like I said, if we let this stuff sit on us, it could cause illness, it could cause rage, and the anger rises up, and we make split-second decisions that will cost us. And like I said, in hindsight, when you look back at it, you shake your head and say, that wasn't supposed to happen for me anyway. And I'm glad it didn't happen for me anyway. Right? So please, please be careful with your anger. All right? And I'll talk to you on the next go round.